Fit for Europe, the Fit for Them podcast. Hello, my name is Stankomir Nicieja. I teach at the University of Opole at the Institute of Linguistics. I would like to welcome you to the fourth segment of our podcast. Today, we'll be talking about early career researchers and a survey conducted to learn about their needs. But before we begin, let me remind that FORTHEM is an alliance established in 2019 as a European University network of 7 universities. It has been working on joint structures and activities concerning student and staff mobility, virtual educational tools, and researchers network that cooperate in 7 thematic labs. FIT FORTHEM is an alliance that additionally supports institutional transformation. For example, the project helps to set common research areas and build bridges linking university resources to make them more accessible. Additional funds support the labs in the implementation of pilot studies. Today, we'll be talking about the plans that FORTHEM Alliance is making to reach out to early career researchers. The initiative aims to engage them in dedicated activities to make sure they also feel they are members of the larger European university. My guest is Jędrzej Olejniczak, a new member of the FIT FORTHEM core team, recently hired at the University of Opole as an instructor, and to my understanding, soon to complete his PhD thesis. So a perfect example of an early career or early stage researcher.
Hi, I'm very glad to be here.
Hello. I understand that you are behind a recent survey distributed to all FORTHEM universities that tried to map the needs and preferences of early stage researchers in the context of FORTHEM joint actions. How many universities and individuals took part in the survey?
So we conducted and analyzed a survey with Professor Maleka Zakowska, and FORTHEM is composed of universities of Valencia, Palermo, Mainz, Dijon, Jyväskylä, Riga, and Opole. And altogether we had over 350 responses, I think 355 to be more specific.
The universities are of different size and structure. Do you have it reflected in your survey?
Yes, there are some smaller inconsistencies in the sense that the biggest universities have had a lot to share, but we try to promote the survey in all the partnering institutions. So we have also included the newcomers from Sibiu from Romania and Adger from Norway. The 2 universities, I believe, are joining the network.
So who were the groups within the universities that were targeted with this survey?
So we had postdocs and young academics who were employed by the universities, as well as the PhD candidates, who I believe were the majority in the survey, and some academically inclined or minded MA students as well.
So why was this survey designed in the first place?
So we primarily aim to find out how best to plan our activities for the future of FORTHEM. And for the early stage researchers in the next funding period of the Alliance, it is, I believe, quite an important step. At FIT FORTHEM, we noticed that unlike students and experienced researchers, young academics and their needs are not addressed specifically within the current range of FORTHEM actions and activities, be they labs or civic engagement projects. And yet these young researchers really need to build their networks, seize new training opportunities, engage in different international collaborations, learn how to join in projects to find out their own paths to successful careers. Because some of them are indeed left on their own in a sense, right? And relatively confused as to what exactly they are supposed to do to proceed with their work.
Okay. So FORTHEM Alliance, and particularly FIT FORTHEM, is known for offering various workshops. For example, professionalization workshop, intercultural sensitization workshops, matchmaking workshops. Is there any interest among early stage researchers in workshops, and if so, in which topics?
So I think the primary topics that were, indicated by our surveyed members were the project management, funding opportunities, science communication workshops. And having applied for funding myself in the past, I have to say that without guidance of my colleague, I would have never been able to complete that application process. So indeed, this is something that I think has to be emphasized. I think people do actually care and need to talk about funding opportunities and the ways in which you can apply for them. There was also some interest expressed for the academically oriented workshops in statistics. I believe that was something that was also emphasized by the surveyed members.
So given the current circumstances with restrictions and on-site visits and with lots of online workshops, what are their preferences?
So we saw some very strong preferences for smaller groups, 10, 15, maybe 20 people. And generally speaking, the trend was to the people who are very likely to indicate that they would like to have those workshops done online. And, there's 2 4-hour sessions at one time so that they do not take the entire day. And they also did indicate that they would have preferred to see a series of sessions to learn or practice, right? So those kind of hands-on experiences were also kind of perceived as desirable, I guess. And having an expert around to reach out to was also indicated as a very kind of positive factor there.
Mm-hmm. If someone takes part in a workshop or a series of workshops organized by FORTHEM, how do they get recognized or certified?
Okay, so whereas FORTHEM is working on the system of micro-credentials, it is interesting that many young researchers would actually prefer to get a certificate. And this was possibly a document that would specify the topics, skills, and learning outcomes that were covered. And that is something that indeed is very practical, right? Because they would like to have a tangible piece of evidence that they attended those that they could attach to a CV, perhaps.
So does the possibility of participating in a winter or summer school at a different university appeal to young academics?
Yes, very much so. And I have to say this from my own experience. That's always amazing to go abroad, to experience other opinions, other teaching styles, and just network with other people as well. I think that's quite an important piece of the deal indeed. And the important thing that came from the survey, though, is that such a school must have a very clear profile. So those were relatively monodisciplinary, strictly focused on some specific, on a very specific field. And that is definitely something that was highly emphasized, right? So those schools, if they were to be organized, would have to be focused on one particular field or skill.
Apart from learning something new, or are young researchers interested in sharing their own work in the context of FORTHEM community?
So about half of the respondents signaled some sort of readiness to share the preliminary results of their master's or PhD progress. At least, the work in progress parts of those. So they seem to be eager to get feedback from peers and experts, and because it might give them some new ideas, and possibly this is how they can challenge themselves to improve their presentation skills as well. So that's always a valuable experience.
Part of academic life is traveling to conferences, symposia, or seminars where knowledge is exchanged and new networks are built. Do young researchers look forward to such experiences?
Generally, yes. Of course, due to the pandemic context, our respondents were evenly split between preferences for on-site and online events. And in addition, about a quarter of them mentioned that they would not mind hybrid events as well. So the ones that would be organized both online and on-site. So depending on their preference, they could either attend in person or not. And if there was a FORTHEM on-site conference, the ideal setup of such an event would be 2 to 4 days. That's what was indicated, by the way, by those surveyed entities, and perhaps on an annual basis, right, with oral presentations and poster sessions in place. It was intriguing to find out that young academics are open to multidisciplinary events. So where those summer schools were mostly monodisciplinary, those events that would be organized by FORTHEM could be multidisciplinary indeed, and thematically designed for like some specific fields perhaps. but broadening them to include some outer elements thereof. And discussion and exchange are highly valued. So keynote lectures by experts and practical workshops or lab visits will also be pretty much welcomed by our participants here.
What about those that expressed preference for online conferencing? This form might be popular with those from remote or poorly connected regions because it democratizes access and lowers the carbon footprint. What are the preferences here?
So such ideal conference was described as lasting 1 to 2 days with those kind of occurrences of 2 to 4 times a year. And of course with slideshows or oral presentations in place altogether, right? With a strong monodisciplinary focus, however, that was indicated, the online conferences would have to once again go to those kind of more specialized fields or disciplines. And obviously the participants would like to obtain feedback from specialists, engage in discussions with peers, and perhaps a streamed keynote lecture was also suggested to take place.
I hear many young people are saying that it is important to be learning by doing. Do you have any answers to that?
Oh, of course. So according to our survey, young academics are indeed quite eager to travel, to be mobile, to spend time in partner institutions. So those kind of engaged formats of traveling are also something that they find important. And they would like to have a possibility to arrange an interesting study visit or to be involved in ongoing research or simply to find new partners and mentors. So that was definitely something that was on the cards there.
Speaking of which, many of the young researchers are already supervised by professors. Where does the need to have more mentoring come from?
So mentoring is useful if it is tailored to the institutional and personal needs. So mentors do not interfere with the supervisor's work, but offer a different perspective, a different angle, if I may. And this means that, well, one example is that a female professor mentoring female PhD candidates on ways to overcome institutional biases, right, can indeed empower those candidates in a sense, right? They can definitely allow them to find a fresh perspective on how exactly to deal with the current institutional biases present in the academia. Someone with a record of successful international projects could also shed some light on the ways to build international teams or for the existing international teams to apply for funding, right, which is also relatively important.
So what are some of the actions that FORTHEM will be proposing to this group?
So the Alliance continues to focus on mobilities and mobility-related projects such as study visits and summer-winter schools. In addition, the workshop and mentoring opportunities will be set up. There will be open science events, science slams, and annual FORTHEM conferences with dedicated panels for young researchers. Also, they will be able to make use of the special purpose journal to increase the visibility of their research and to be trained in the best practices of academic publishing.
Are the future FORTHEM conferences going to be thematically related to contemporary research challenges?
Possibly. When we asked about any thematic preferences, we could see responses clustering around 5 areas of inquiry. And those are mostly bound to the universities from which the responses were given. So that's quite an important point to make. And the first one is related to environmental issues, sustainability, food technologies, and food safety. The second one to information and communication technologies, including marketing and impacts on society. The third one relates to health, biomedicine, biotechnology. Large numbers of representatives of the humanities and social sciences in FORTHEM do also point to the need to do more comparative analyses regarding language, literature, education, or law. There is also interest in bridging together specialists in physics, materials, and energy systems. So those things were definitely there in the responses.
That's a lot of interesting events and scholarly exchanges. It sounds great that the survey revealed the actual needs and preferences of the FORTHEM community. Thank you for sharing that with us. Good luck with your work.
Thank you for having me.
It was my pleasure. And if you are interested in the FORTHEM and FIT FORTHEM activities and initiatives, please look at our website www.forthem-alliance.eu, where you can find all the relevant information, updates, events, calendar, and much, much more. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.